June 6th, 1944. Before sunrise, thousands of ships crossed the English Channel, carrying the fate of Europe with them. More than 150,000 soldiers were heading toward the most heavily defended coastline in Europe. Many of them already believed they would never return home. But to understand why this day mattered, we must go back for years. In 1940, Nazi Germany invaded France with terrifying speed. Within weeks, France collapsed. Hitler now controlled most of Western Europe. Britain stood alone. Across the Channel, millions of German troops waited. Then, in 1941, Hitler made a fatal decision. He invaded the Soviet Union. The war had become too large for Germany to control forever. The Allies knew one thing. Europe could never be liberated without returning to France. So they began planning the largest invasion in human history. But invading Normandy was not just about landing soldiers on a beach. The Allies had to defeat Germany before the first soldier even arrived. The Germans knew an Allied invasion was coming, but they did not know where it would happen. Hitler believed the main attack would come at Pas-de-Calais, the closest points between Britain and France. To make this illusion believable, the Allies created an entire fake army. They built fake tanks, fake aircraft, and created fake radio messages to fool German intelligence. The fake army was placed under the name of Generalleibgarde. The deception worked even after the invasion began. Hitler refused to move many of his divisions from Calais. Meanwhile, across Britain, thousands of Allied soldiers prepared in complete secrecy. They trained for months, knowing that the mission ahead could be their final battle. By June 1944, the greatest invasion force in history was ready. Now, everything depended on one morning, June 6th, 1944. By the end of the first day, the Allies had secured a fragile foothold on the beaches of Normandy, but the real battle was only beginning. Thousands of soldiers moved inland, but they faced a nightmare of hidden enemies and difficult terrain. The Normandy countryside was filled with narrow roads and thick hedgerows that gave German defenders a deadly advantage. German troops used these natural defenses to launch surprise attacks against advancing Allied forces. The American forces advancing from Omaha Beach suffered heavy casualties as they pushed through the countryside. Meanwhile, Allied commanders continued bringing more troops and supplies across the English Channel. The scale of the invasion was unlike anything the world had ever seen. But victory would not come quickly. The Allies still had to break through heavily defended German lines. The next phase of the campaign would decide whether the Allies could escape the beaches and begin the liberation of Europe. And ahead of them was their greatest challenge yet, breaking through the German defenses at Normandy. American soldiers expected a quick advance. Instead, they walked into hell. German MG-42s fired nearly 1,200 rounds every minute. The first assault companies were being destroyed within minutes. Many soldiers never even reached the send. Engineers tried to clear obstacles. Most never finished their mission. Landing craft kept arriving, bringing more men into the same nightmare. Some units lost almost every officer. Communication collapsed. Small groups began fighting on their own. No one knew who was in command anymore. Then, something unexpected happened. A handful of soldiers ignored the plan and climbed the cliffs. The Rangers had reached the top of the cliffs, but their mission was far from over. They discovered that the German guns they came to destroy were no longer there, but the Germans were still defending the area with determination. Across Normandy, Thousands of Allied soldiers were still trapped on the beaches. Commanders feared the invasion could fail before it truly began. But the Allies had one advantage. Germany could not match unlimited reinforcements. Slowly, the Allies began expanding their fragile beachhead. The next challenge was the Normandy countryside itself. Every field became a battlefield. Every road could hide an enemy. The beaches were only the beginning. Now, the Allies had to break through France itself. By midday, German resistance was beginning to collapse across several sectors of Omaha Beach. U.S. destroyers moved within only a few hundred meters ashore, blasting German bunkers at point-blank range. The relentless bombardment finally silenced many of the machine nests. Combat engineers worked under fire, clearing mines and opening exits from the beach. Tanks and armored vehicles finally began moving inland. The Atlantic Wall had finally been breached. By the end of D-Day, more than 150,000 Allied troops had landed in Normandy. Victory in Normandy opened the road to Paris and marked the beginning of Nazi Germany's downfall.